Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Summit, your go-to platform on insightful conversations on national and global issues. My name is Martina Avera, and as usual, I'll be your host for today. Now, we're going to be diving into Rwanda's mining sector with a critical focus on mineral traceability. Rwanda has implemented a robust mineral traceability system to be able to ensure transparency and accountability in the mining industry. This system tracks the origin of minerals from extraction all the way to export, ensuring compliance with international standards. But just how effective is it? And we're going to be finding that out during our conversation today. Now, joining us here to unpack this very insightful conversation is none other than Muhire Didier, who is the Deputy Program Manager at ITSCI. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, and we also have with us John Kanyangira, who is the Mineral Traceability Division Manager. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Justice Uwiringirimana, who is the General Manager at Trinity Nyakabingo Mine. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So we are hoping that you're going to be tuned in for the rest of the show, as we're going to be hearing the difference between the facts and the fiction and exploring Rwanda's commitment to ethical mining practices. So to kind of set the mood, we are going to be having a story that has been done by one of our colleagues here at RBA, and talking about investors in Rwanda's mineral sector who acknowledge that the country's strategic location and mineral abundance were key factors in attracting them. Meanwhile, regional political experts find that certain countries imposing sanctions on Rwanda are doing so under accusations of illegally mining Congolese minerals, which they see as an attempt to divert attention from the real causes of insecurity in the region for their own geopolitical and economic interests. So we have more coming from this story. Let's take a look, and we'll be right back.
For more than 30 years, the DRC government has ignored the concerns of its mainly Kinyarwanda-speaking population in the eastern part of the country. Tit Gatabazi explains that shifting the narrative from the real issues which led the M23 to take up arms to an accusation of illegal mining of Congolese minerals is a deliberate attempt to mislead the international community and divert attention from the weakness of the DRC's leadership. Some people claim their rights as Congolese, but it is often twisted to justify their pursuit of minerals, which is irrelevant. In reality, 7% of these minerals are controlled by China, while 30% are in the hands of some European companies. According to the Africa Intelligence News outlet, in Katanga, the governor is said to be a close ally of the Tshisekedi family. He is reportedly representing the interests of the Tshisekedi family and Ramaphosa's, as they are the main players extracting minerals in that region. Alois Mutabingwa emphasizes that some in the international community and certain countries continue to deliberately ignore the truth about what is happening in the Eastern DRC. He finds that this is done to protect their economic interests, which are deeply tied to the mineral-rich region.
There has been illegal trading around there, no question about it, including some foreign actors preoccupied with illegal trading than anything else. And that causes insecurity. Actually, it escalates the causes of insecurity around these areas, especially these that are known to be rich in natural resources. Surprisingly, those who've been in those acts are those who are constitutionally responsible for guaranteeing security to people.
Ray Parr, who owns the first cotton processing plant in Rwanda and on the African continent, is among those who disagree with the claims that Rwanda lacks mineral resources.
Oh, sure, look, we've stood on it. I mean, it is fundamental. There are a lot of non-geologists who have opinions, but it is here. We've invested a huge amount of money to build a full industrial scale mine with exploration data, with drilling data. We've proven the resources. But in reality, you can look through the historical archives. Rwanda was a substantial contributor to the tin mining back in the 1940s and 50s. And let's face it, the geology does not have passports. rocks don't get to a political border and say, okay, we stop here. Yeah? This whole belt is the whole region. It even crosses into Burundi and up in Uganda. It's the whole region. So you cannot say, just because there's a political border invented in the last 125 years, all of a sudden rocks that have been here for multi-millions of years have changed location. It's not viable. And so you can see here, we have a very solid investment. You know, you don't see thousands of people, but that's because that's a very unsafe way to mine. The more miners you have crawling in tunnels, the more people that die. And we all know artisanal mining has got a reasonably poor reputation for all the human rights abuses that have taken place over the last 40 years.
In a recent interview with Marion Alfal, one of the most popular journalists on social media platforms such as YouTube and X, formerly Twitter, President Paul Kagame family stated that Rwanda has nothing to do with the minerals it is accused of extracting from the DRC.
If you looked at the list of 100 entities, 100 from wherever, China, Europe, US, Canada, and so on, including all of us in the region, who are interested in the minerals in the Congo, Rwanda would come as 100th, would come at the bottom. If you ranked them 1, 2, 3, but the situation is such that it has been made to look like the ones least concerned with the minerals have been the ones accused for the entire problem of these 100 who get billions and billions and leave nothing behind. So Rwanda has come to be the ones to absorb it. So that is
to absorb all the blame.
All the blame. Because those who, that whole line up to the 99s, are the people who have the power of the media, of everything. And for them, they're also benefiting from the bad politics of Congo. And most of these people probably have a share in the companies formed together with Tshisekedi.
President Felix.
Yes.
Here, the head of state told this journalist that Rwanda's main concern is its security.
Our problem is not minerals. It has nothing to do with minerals. Ours is about security. And once we are not assured of our security and long term, we can't be thinking about minerals in that situation. No, that would be the last thing on our minds.
Rwanda's security concerns have led it to adopt defensive measures that have prompted some countries to impose sanctions. Rwanda finds this as not the best way to address the security crisis in the region, which is largely based on the activities of the FDLR, a genocidal militia group. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Now, through this report, we have found that regional experts have found that certain countries are imposing sanctions on Rwanda under the accusations of illegally mining Congolese minerals, which they see as an attempt to divert attention from the real causes of insecurity that we have been hearing and talking about over the past 30 years for their own geopolitical and economic interests. And now, one might ask, how robust is the minerals traceability systems here in Rwanda? So I would like to start off with you, Mr. John. For people who might not understand the whole mineral traceability concept, how can you explain what mineral traceability means in the context of Rwanda's mining sector?
Thank you so much. Mineral traceability, it means checking all the way from the mine whether the minerals are not supporting in a armed group, non-state armed group, who may abuse the human rights and so on. So let me go back a bit. We started with mineral traceability in 2011 after the Dodd-Frank Act. But then they were requesting those who are registered in the USA Exchange Commission, saying that whoever is sourcing from the Great Lakes region should disclose the source of minerals, should make sure that the minerals are not directly or indirectly contributing to the the variable non-state armed groups who are causing chaos in the eastern DRC. So Rwanda, as we were categorized in a conflict area, so all the countries surrounding Congo were mapped as a conflict, or they are considered as a conflict area. So we responded positively, and then by that time we hired the staff to support traceability. So we go beyond that. We recruited more than 100 younger staff to make sure that we are complying with such an international regulation, because they were pending embargo, saying if we don't comply with the international regulations, you are likely to stop exporting your minerals. So slowly by slowly, we managed to even to go beyond that, to recruit the staff who are trained in mining and geology, to make sure that they cannot be confused. They know what they are doing. They know where the minerals are extracted. They know the system of extracting. So we're going to go beyond to put more standards even than those imposed by international regulations. So traceability as a part of compliance, international and regional compliance, we worked with the NGOs to make sure that maybe some may say, okay, if the government of Rwanda is doing its own, maybe we can't trust them alone. So we invited the local NGO, which was working under its scheme, so that they can do their due diligence, they watch what the government is doing, and certify to the international buyers Rwandan minerals are not supporting directly or indirectly to non-state armed groups in eastern DRC. Yes, that's, we are still doing it now over 10 years doing that, and the government of Rwanda is investing so much to make sure that everything is complying with the regional and international standards.
Yes, thank you very much for that overview on the whole essence of mineral traceability here in Rwanda. Now, since its inception in 2011, how could you describe the progress of Rwanda being accustomed and also learning to implement it in terms of the mining sector?
Thank you so much. Today, the international buyers, smelters and refineries, they have the confidence in the minerals from Rwanda. They are, because of our system in place, and in fact, the government is investing. We are almost, every year we are using more than 2 billion Rwanda francs to make sure that the system is complying with everything. So even we go beyond that, our traceability even help us to make sure that the safety of miners were catered. The environment is well catered. When you see on the checklist of international regulation, maybe we not see the safety, the personal safety of those who work in the mine. Maybe we not see the environmental issues, but we went beyond that. If the company is not complying with those things I have mentioned, we don't allow you to take your minerals, because it's like if you don't respect the health or the safety of your workers, then you are likely to get suspended until you comply with such things. So we are now trying to bring in technology where we have developed the digital platforms where everyone will see what we are doing. We don't make it as a secret, but we put it on public and international. Whoever wants to see what we are doing, they can see it transparently. So, so far, that's why we are still attracting the foreign investors to come to invest in Rwanda, they know that our minerals are not supporting directly or indirectly to the conflicts in DRC. Or we are directly supporting or indirectly supporting the human rights abuse or children's labor. That's it.
All right, thank you very much for that. Over to you, Mr. Didier. In terms of ITSCI role, as the Deputy Project Manager at ITSCI, can you be able to explain the role your organization plays in supporting Rwanda's traceability efforts?
Okay, thank you. The MOI said, ITSCI, or International Supply Chain Initiative, was introduced since the year 2011 just to help the government of Rwanda to comply with international standards. As he explained, Rwanda was listed among the countries that are conflict affected and was listed in high-risk areas. After that, the European Union, through OECD, have developed policies and standards to be followed and complied with. It is in this line that ITSCI project was introduced in Rwanda to come to check whether the country is complying with these standards. The system is helping the government of Rwanda to comply with these standards. We are providing trainings to the staff of RMB. We are organizing joint visits to RMB, Rwanda Mining Association, and other stakeholders, just to play our role by involving every stakeholder who has to play a role in the mining sector. We also provide some financial support through different activities that are being organized. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Mr. Justin. We've heard from the General Manager as well as the Deputy Director. Can we, as a General Manager at Trinity Nyakabingo Mine, can you be able to describe the daily processes in place at your mine to be able to document and track minerals?
Thank you very much. At Trinity Nyakabingo Mine, we are currently working with Beta Mining, which is a close relative to ITSCI. And on our daily traceability systems, we start from the bottom, from the mine itself at the face. So from there, everything that is mined in terms of concentrate is recorded. So we have 3 stages mainly. The one is mine tag, which is as it comes out from the mine. The second is processing tag. So once it comes from the mine, it goes into a designated place where it is upgraded to increase the product quality. And then the processing tag is put there, and along the whole process, everything is recorded. Then after that, there are some other processes that happen in between before the export. But as we export, then we have the blending tag. That is basically you've taken bits and pieces from different mining phases, upgraded, put them together, and then you combine them into a lot. Now, at every stage, every record is available. And obviously, before you export, you've got to comply with different standards, like my colleagues here have said. But the main thing really is to ensure that the source of your minerals complies with these standards, and to make sure you are not doing any harm. One of our values at Trinity is doing no harm, and that goes to the people, to the environment, and obviously to the business. So the system itself is robust, and it can actually be traced. You can take your phone, scan, and see all the information from where the mineral started to where it's going. And I mean, at the smelters or the buyers of our concentrates, they need to prove that the minerals we've sold to them are complying. They are conflict-free. Through this digital system, they can easily check that information.
And through the inception of these traceability systems, since they've been put in place, as the general manager of Trinity Nyakabingo mine, could you describe some of these benefits of having to track these minerals and what it has done for the mines in Nyakabingo?
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. First benefit to us is compliance equals good reputation. So without good reputation, you aren't going anywhere with your business. Number two, I don't think around the globe anyone is now buying any minerals with unknown sources. So that doesn't happen, at least in case of our region. And being able to run through this robust process, you ensure that you have the client for your minerals. And you've got to be able to prove it. They go beyond to even doing due diligences often to make sure whatever Better Mining, for example, is recording and showing is actually what is happening at the mine. So reputation, obtaining clients, but also attracting investment. Any investor you will talk to these days, they are focused on ESG, environmental and social governance. And you have to, these traceability systems also look at these different things. So you want to look at how you treat your environment. How is your society or the community around you? How is the country performing in terms of, compliance with international standards? So the benefits are tremendous.
Yeah.
Basically, without that, I don't think you are going anywhere these days.
Yeah. Over to you, Mr. John. Speaking of the role of the Rwanda Mining Board, as the Mining Traceability Division Manager, what key initiatives is the Rwanda Mining Board currently undertaking or putting in place to be able to enhance the minerals traceability system currently?
Thank you so much. As I told you, we are currently putting technology in our traceability system. So the more you put technology, the more the system is transparent to everyone, to the international buyers, to the smelters, refineries. So that's what we are trying to do. For example, we are developing the so-called national digital traceability system, where all the other mechanisms will be linked to that system, so that whoever wants to make sure that Rwandan minerals are conflict-free, they can easily check through the website or the system that will be available. But we are also working with the regional bodies, regional bodies like ICGR. ICGR, it's the International Great Lakes Conference region, where Rwanda, so it's a member of that integration. So we make sure that even we get the independent third-party auditors, so they come independently and they audit our system. So after auditing, it's them who confirm that, okay, the Rwandan traceability system complies with the international regulations, complies with the regional mechanism. So that's why we are still trading. That's why we are still exporting our minerals to all parts of the world. And we are still continuing working with even the private sector. Maybe in the future, the companies themselves will establish their own traceability system, the so-called closed traceability pipeline, where the big companies will be able to trace their own minerals and export it directly to refineries. But we are also bringing the value addition in. Because if we bring in like smelters, we have so far 2 or 3. We have the gold refinery, we have cassiterite smelter and colta refinery, for which the companies, the way from the mining company will be closed. It will be easier to trace. Because you can ask, is Rwanda a conflict country? Of course no, but there is a risk that minerals may cross over from Eastern DRC to Rwanda. So what we do, we make sure that our mining companies, they are putting tags. In fact, the tags are put by the government agents, which are always there. So we have for like more than 2 staff on each district, depending on the number of mining sites. So what we do, even if it's costly to the government, but we have to make sure that wherever the international regulation requires, we comply to it maximally. Because even before export, we do certification. We have my division, we have to check that all the minerals within specific container, they have the specific source. We have to see the list of suppliers. We have to make sure the suppliers, they have the license, they can show the supply chain information from the mine up to the mineral trader and up to the exporter. Then we give, if we find something missing, we reject the container has to stop and fulfill all the requirements. So that's why we are bringing in the technology to make sure to reduce the mistakes and to make things faster.
Yeah, you did speak about technology, and we have seen that over the years, technological implementations in the government and different systems, as well as digitalizing everything, is the way to go, because the world is moving from analog into a digital, a more associated world. So how can you describe from the inception of the traceability system here in Rwanda in 2011 to now, how can you describe the betterment of the system that has been brought by technology in terms of easing operations for the Rwanda Mining Board, or even people who are trying to tap into this industry?
I think back at the beginning, we were using the papers. Yeah, we are still using the papers, but at least today you can, after filling that paper, you can scan it and send it to. So we had a lot of incidents. Our staff may be coming from the field, and then maybe the paper may be lost on the way, or even the rain may be destroyed by the rain, and then we lose information. So by that time, we had a lot of incidences. Incidents means that when traceability means the tracking information from the site up to the exporter. So in case you lose some of the information on the way to the controller or a mineral trader, the traceability has lost, which brings in incident and which may delay the container to be exported until you find that lost information. So today, at least we have maybe 30 minutes. The controller has information. We have now the so-called Inhomane. Inhomane, it's a kind of management system where after tagging, the buyer immediately knows that, okay, these minerals have been tagged and is going to come to my controller. Within 2 minutes, you have all the information from the mine up to the controller or a mineral buyer, which is even easy for tax collection, for human resource management. So traceability is no longer compliant with the international. It has become the tool to regulate the whole mining sector, whether to check if you are paying the taxes, whether the prices you are giving to the government as the basis of tax calculation is based on international price. So it's no wrong. That's why what we are developing is not only complying with international standards, but to help us regulate the sector and make sure that now the inhuman system which I have mentioned has dramatically reduced the illegal minerals entering into the mine, because you can't justify where you have got that minerals. You need to justify the expenses during extraction. You need to justify that you have paid the miner. You need to justify that you have the license. So we started with complying with international standards. Now it's helping us to regulate the sector efficiently. Thank you.
And keep up with the tracking.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And back to you, Didier. In terms of monitoring and verification, what mechanisms are put in place to be able to monitor as well as verify the traceability of minerals from the point of extraction heading over all the way to the market?
Yeah, thank you. The mechanisms for verification, I want to say that traceability is not only from the point of extraction to export. It goes beyond to the smelters or the final users. For the monitoring, we also have a local team and a team on the field. We have staff based in all districts where they on daily basis they have to perform or conduct field visits to mine sites to check whether these sites are active, to check the level of activities, to check on production. They have to make a baseline for each mine site to know the production capacity of each site, to know what type of mineral is being sourced from the site. Also, in collaboration with Rwanda Mines Petroleum and Gas Board, in collaboration with Rwanda Mining Association, in collaboration with other stakeholders like the district mining task forces, all these are trained and are being trained regularly so they can help in the monitoring. It is not, let me say, it is not a one-person work. It is just a joint action. Reason why? All these stakeholders are collaborating, working hand in hand to check on this compliance. Also, for the monitoring, we have our procedures and standards everyone has to comply with. When conducting those field visits, not only at the mine sites, but also at the processors or exporters, those known as comptoirs. They are those people that are buying minerals, they are processing. Processing means upgrading the mineral content. For example, at the extraction point, extract might be of 50% grade of concentration. At the processing site, they process it. It means separation with different impurities. It goes up like to 65. There also, we have to check whether these processors and exporters are complying, especially basing, as we used to say, on the standards developed by the OECD and the ICGR, as DM said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And back to you, Justice. In terms of on-the-ground traceability processing, as the general manager of the mine, can you be able to share some of the practical measures that your mine has implemented to be able to ensure adherence to the traceability system that has been put in place?
Yeah, some of the measures we've put in place include we have a staff from Better Mining on day shift and night shift. So every time there is someone ensuring traceability is in place from the bottom up to the top. And it follows on up to the exporter and to the smelter, like my friend said here. So the permanent staff from Better Mining ensures every record is put in place. That's number one. Number two, we get the monthly due diligence. Sometimes it can come weekly, depends on what progress is being made. And the due diligence from Better Mining, there are different records of incidents, for example, if there is any. Let's say, for example, there is some incident on unauthorized mining, for example, although that doesn't happen at our mine now. But that is recorded, and investigation is done to make sure what's the root cause, or what's the immediate cause, what can we learn from this, can we close this out? And that is recorded. That is also sent in the end to the buyer of our minerals. We do reports. We are asked to produce reports of every traceability activity that we've done, where we report, for example, minerals produced, incidents recorded, and how they were closed. So we have really good mechanisms that you can monitor on real time, if you like. Yeah, I think in general, that's really what we do.
Yes. Thank you for that. Mr. John, you talked about also the importance of the traceability system to also cater to some of these international buyers and whatnot. So how does Rwanda Mining Board engage with different stakeholders, including local communities, international buyers, to be able to ensure compliance with the traceability system?
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned, we are not alone in the system. We are not in an island. We do things which everyone should see. For example, we are currently working with the ICGR, where they train our exporters how they should be complying with the international standards. We recently conducted we worked with the ICGR to conduct a third-party audit where our 16 mineral exporters were audited, and they all got green. Green means they are complying with the standards. So we are working as well with local authorities because we have a staff at the district level where they work with the local authorities to monitor whether there is no illegal activities around. And of course, we work also with the security organs to make sure that whoever, because we have trained them to see if you meet maybe with a truck carrying minerals, you have to check if the bags have bear tags on it. You need to check on papers accompanying the tags. Even if you have a smartphone, you can scan it and see exactly the source, where the minerals are coming from. So if they hesitate, we have a toll-free numbers, which they call and make sure that the minerals, the information on paper, the same as the real location of those minerals. So we work also with the regional member states, because, as I said, we are not in an island. We have the smelters in the country where we need to import minerals from the neighboring countries. So we make sure that the minerals being imported for refinery or smelting, they have to comply with the standards. They have to show that the minerals are not coming from the conflict zone. The minerals have the certificate issued by those countries. So we regularly meet. We have the annual meetings in the different member states where we share the information so that the minerals from the conflict areas are not mingled or mixed within the minerals mined within the member states. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the implementation of the minerals traceability system, as well as the growth of the Rwanda mining sector in general, is there a shift in terms of the narrative, maybe locally or even internationally, of the belief that Rwanda does not really have a growing mining sector, or a mining sector that is of any much importance? Is there a shift in that narrative?
Yeah, exactly. Starting from our local people, the Rwandans, we had they didn't believe that Rwanda that can be able to mine minerals. Even in the local one, they didn't believe that. But slowly by slowly, especially through employment, where we have now around 70,000 Rwandese are employed in the mining sector. So now it's the local people who give testimonies to international people, because lucky enough, every sector in Rwanda, there is a mine site. So we used to have those big mine sites, formerly owned by the government. But currently, even within Kigali, we have the large scale mine. Every sector, at least every sector within the country, there is a mine site there. So we no longer, the Rwandans, they no longer hesitate that we have that. And what I can tell you, most of our mining sites have been discovered by local people. Just during their digging or in the construction process, they come across to a rock which is unfamiliar to him or her, and then they take it to laboratory for testing. Oh, so, wow, in my farm there is minerals there.
Minerals, yeah.
So the locals contributed much to the discovery of new sites. Yeah. So for the internationals, because they are seeing our exports, because it's them who buy most of our minerals, because only 20% are processed within the country. The rest goes to China, to USA, to Europe. So they should be giving testimonies for themselves. And we have got the laboratories, international laboratories. The minerals also have the same as, it's like the fingerprint or DNA. They may be the same, but with slight some elements which you should find in Rwanda and not in DRC. So they have that databases of the trace elements of our minerals. It's not just they trust us, our system of traceability. They go beyond to use science to check if we know that the minerals from Rwanda, they have these trace elements which cannot be found in the minerals. Even if it's the same mineral, maybe it's colta or cassiterite or wolfram, but there are some trace elements which might be having in Rwanda minerals, but not available in Congo or Burundi or Tanzania. So they have built that databases, which it helps them to identify that Rwandan minerals are not mixed with the minerals maybe from Congo, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's minerals from Tanzania, there is the papers. It come across through customs with the papers, with the tags from Tanzania, with certificate, and then oh, this is Tanzania. Yes, we know it's from Tanzania because Tanzania minerals, they don't have this trace element. That's it.
Yeah, and thank you for shedding light on that, because due to the ongoing speculations amidst all the instability going on, it's good to understand that these minerals traceability systems do work, and they can be able to show from the point of extraction all the way to export that these minerals are from here and there. So it's always good to hear this information. Yes. Back to you, Mr. Didier. We have seen that the minerals traceability system was started in 2011, but we have also seen the benefits of having this system being put in place. So in your opinion, how does an effective minerals traceability system contribute to ensuring ethical practices within the mining industry?
Thank you. For the effective traceability system, just in regard of ethics, as we said earlier, there are standards that have to be complied with. These were developed based on the reasons that we have explained. And traceability means just tracing from that point of extraction to the smelters and the refineries. Every actor has now to understand the importance of this. This importance, for example, on the national economy, on the livelihoods of the nearing population where the mindsets are. Everyone has a role or responsibility to go through these procedures, to go through these guidelines, to avoid any kind of incident as explained Mr. Justin. We call an incident something that is done or that is not done in accordance with the procedures or the guidelines. Everyone has to obey this, have to respect, has to go through. Even from what the director or no, the division manager has said, the minerals from Rwanda or from somewhere else, they are not the same. Okay, they can have same content composition, but grades are different, taking into consideration their composition. For the ethics, then, it means that everyone has to comply, everyone has to be sure that he's sourcing from his own mining surface area from which he has given a license. Everyone has to make sure that he's not using children on the ground. There is no violation of, let me say, the GBVs, gender-based violences. There is no harm or violation or abuse of human rights. We also have to know or to ensure that everyone is now having like this is social corporate responsibilities. If one does not comply or go through or does not go in line with this, there are measures that can be taken. For example, his or her license can be revoked. Someone can be put on a list that we call a due diligence list. It is an alert to say that this one is not complying. This one is having different issues, A, B, C, D, you can list. We can even retrieve the traceability materials. So there are different measures that can be taken. Accordingly, we also provide guidance, we provide advices, we train, just so to help this compliance.
Yes, understanding that the assurance of ethical practices are something that is of priority is very important, because it does put specific guidelines in place to ensure a proper management of these mines as well as progression of the industry in general. So as we come to the conclusion of the show, over to you, Mr. Justin, in your opinion, what are the key areas for improvement in the minerals traceability system that could benefit mining companies here in Rwanda, as the general manager of a mining company yourself?
Yeah, I will just mention a few, giving an example from Trinity Nyakabingo mine. Sometimes mine owners or operators might mistake traceability to be a responsibility of Itski, for example, or Beta Mining. But no, it's our responsibility first. And you have to have systems in place. So develop policies, report incidents. Our team at Nyakabingo is quite full. We have environmentalists, we have people in the labs, we have safety officers and managers, and every time we have community officers. Every time they are trying to check these different facets that make up traceability. And we, first of all, internally report our incidents, record them, and we are even actually obliged to, report them to our investors. Then traceability agencies like ITSCI or Better Mining come into place to say, okay, we can actually support together. Let's make the traceability work. So that is one improvement. The mines also should try to fill in these different positions. The second improvement that I think is required, you see, we have all this information from the mines recorded into, for example, traceability systems, Better Mining systems, for example, or ITSCI system. But John briefly touched on it at the start. I think there is an element of digitization that needs to happen. We may record, and people at the sites may know what is recorded, but what is sent eventually to a buyer, for example, Apple, what is sent to Apple, there isn't a way to check if the information we provided is exactly the information that got sent, although the traceability agencies aren't going to give you a bad image. So I think that element, we have some access to, a part, but a full access, I think, would be very good to ensure the transparency on both ends. The last one I would think is, it comes at a cost, right? It's not cheap. I mean, we have minerals, we comply, but we have to prove it. But the end user has to actually ask you to convince them that you actually comply, right? That your minerals are conflict-free. And at the end of the day, yes, it's good for us, but it's also good for them. We end up bearing all the cost, right? And in my understanding, I think it can be a shared cost. If not, they should bear the cost. But I guess these improvements we will see happening over the coming years. Systems are only almost 14 years now. So there's quite a long way to go, although the progress is also very good.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Justice. And unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you very much for proving or shedding insight or light in terms of how robust the minerals traceability system is in Rwanda, and also for differentiating between fact and fiction in terms of how the system works, defining the system that has been put in place, and also the progression of the system. And so that brings us to the end of today's discussion on Rwanda's mineral traceability system. And we have heard that Rwanda has taken significant steps to be able to ensure transparency as well as compliance in its mining sector. And a big thank you to our guests. So once again, Mr. Didier, Mr. John, and Mr. Justice, and for our viewers for being able to engage with us. This conversation does not stop here. Let's continue to challenge misinformation that we keep hearing in terms of currently now the mining sector or industry here in Rwanda, its effectiveness, its progression and what more, and be able to highlight the strides that Rwanda is taking in terms of making and ensuring responsible mining. So join us next time here on the summit and for more thought-provoking discussions. And until then, make sure to stay informed and stay blessed. Thank you.
Thank you.